3 minutes past. I see that we've got some more attendees coming in, so I just want to thank everybody for coming today, and we'll get going. Welcome everybody. You're here today as part of Alaska Startup Week. So we're in the first day of the Startup Week events, and it's a whole week of events across the state of Alaska, some virtual, some in person, from Valdez through Anchorage up to Fairbanks. And today we're going to be hearing from the Arctic Innovation Competition and some previous winners of the competition that have gone on to continue to develop their businesses from what they actually proposed and what they won as part of the competition. So today I'm based at the University Center for Innovation, Commercialization and Entrepreneurship, and we're the co-host with the Arctic Innovation Competition. And we're part of this innovation hub that's looking to support entrepreneurs and innovators both within and external to the university environment, either through education and training or funding and building their networks. Before I pass on to Tammy to go through today's event and to introduce our panelists and our presenters and then have a discussion, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge the traditional lands upon which we reside. Here in Fairbanks at the Trothieta campus, we are on the land of the Denana people of the lower Tanana River, and all of those that are on American lands are also on ancestral and native and traditional lands, and we just want to recognize all of those lands and the work that they've done and the past, present and future stewardship of those lands. So on that note, I'd like to have Tammy be able to, I will stop sharing from my side and give Tammy and the AIC team the ability to run the presentation and introduce our esteemed panelists. So over to you, Tammy.
All right. All right, so are you seeing the slides for Arctic Inno? Thumbs up. All right. Thank you so much for having us, Peter. I really appreciate it. This gave us a chance to kick off today's the official first day of Arctic Innovation Competition. We are full of content to present to you today. We're going to have Mary Ernst. She is our engagement manager, and she's going to tell you a little bit about AIC. She will pass it off to Piper Wilder, I'm so sorry, from 60 Hertz Microgrid, and also the AIC 2018 Grand Champion. So she's going to share her experiences and some updates on her company. We will then turn it over to Peter Webley for a little bit because he wears many hats besides being a co-host of this Startup Week. He has lots of hats that he wears for us for AIC. And then we'll hand it off to Joshua Resnick. Yes, that's right. We have yet another grand champion from AIC. Apparently, Joshua's been in it a few times, so maybe he can tell you that try and try again, and you will take home the grand prize. And he was the winner in 2017. So we will go ahead and get started, and I will, hold on. I will mess up the slide deck. That's about normal. All right, there's our presenters. And Mary, we're going to go ahead and hand it off to you.
Thank you. So I'm excited to give you guys a quick introduction of AIC and why you should, without a doubt, participate. So to start things off, on the bottom of your screen, down a little webinar thing, I'd love to see a raise of hands of how many of you already know what AIC is or if you previously participated. While you're doing that, the UAF Arctic Innovation Competition is Alaska's original idea competition.
Sorry.
Started in 2009 and award over $40,000 annually to winners. Not only is AIC free to enter, but it can be done from the luxury of your own home since this is an online submission. No prototypes or business plans are necessary, although we do strongly encourage these as they do give you a leading edge. We do have kicker prizes, and you don't have to submit in those roles only. And as you will hear soon, Piper won with a software and technology related submission, and Joshua won with drone technology. They will talk more about that in a minute. One of the highlights is you do retain ownership of your idea, and although we would encourage you to look into provisional patents if you have not done so already. Okay, next one, please. So anyone can enter AIC. We do have 3 separate age divisions, with our youngest contestant being 6 years old at the time, and our oldest was 96. This does show that everyone has great ideas, and AIC is here to foster those. You can enter as a team or individually, but we ask that a max of 4 people present during the presentation stage of the competition. So if I haven't hooked you already, I've got one last argument as to why you should perfect your current innovative idea and submit it this spring. Not only is AIC the perfect place to share your ideas and potentially gain more ideas, but you get competition and presentation experience, which is invaluable in the long run. I mean, have you seen those people on Shark Tank that just freeze up? Exactly. So you never know, your idea can change the world or even your niche community. And that's worth its own weight in gold. And hey, an opportunity to win some money is never a bad opportunity. But with that, I am thrilled to welcome our first speaker, Piper Foster Wilder, who is committed to creating meaningful work for all people and enabling a transition to renewable energy while economizing the diesel that some use. She held multiple awards for entrepreneurship and social impact initiatives, including winning first place in the 2017 AIC competition for 60 Hertz microgrid, which she is currently the CEO. Welcome, Piper.
Thanks, Mary, and really appreciate the chance to join with our AIC panel today. And first off, just want to thank you for the opportunity to reflect on really critical recognition and seed funding that helped 60 Hertz get more traction in 2017. So I'll talk you through some lessons learned and a little bit about our trajectory as a result of the AIC support. We can go to the next slide. Oh, thanks, Tammy. I asked Tammy to help me find this picture because this was in December of 2017 with a really happy moment for 60 Hertz and for me, getting the recognition for what at that point was really just a PowerPoint. And we really had done a lot of research, but not we hadn't sold a single customer at that point. Hiding behind this check was a pretty big baby bump. I was 9 months pregnant with our first child at that point, and was just so grateful for the opportunity to have this important bit of validation as I handed the baton to my teammates as I went on maternity leave shortly thereafter. So I'll tell you the story of what happened next. Bingit was born, and so was the software all at once. That December, so here's where we were. We had done a lot of job shadowing and product research throughout 2017 and felt we understood what needed to be built as a prototype. However, the AIC funding is what paid for that prototype, and we built our first software platform for $13,000. So I pulled together another $3,000 on top of the $10,000 that we won for first place. And the baby was born that December, but my co-founder, Whitney Gant, and a diesel engineer that I'd met at a barbecue the prior summer, Laura Wilcox, worked hard in that same December and January to create the prototype with a software developer, contract software developer that we found. This is a picture of it to the right. They both describe it to me as the most stressful week of their life later in January as they were onboarding new customers, or rather people that were willing to test the software. We didn't have customers at that point, but we got 30 locations in the state that said, yeah, we'd be willing to try this out. And so this was what they ultimately deployed at those 30 locations. Happily, 90% of those sites and entities became customers to 60 Hertz, and that's what gave us the wingspan or the opportunity, therefore, to raise some venture capital and go to the investor market with our idea. So let's see. I think we can go on to the next slide now, and here's what I would love to share with that prototype. we got a lot of feedback. That was, of course, as we know with any idea, hearing what the market likes or doesn't like, and really continuing to refine is the whole gold. So now we can see version 2 of the platform. We wanted it to look really photorealistic, if not actually have photos in it. We've long valued a user interface that has large font and that is useful for people who may not have seen an optometrist but are responsible for maintaining energy assets. This would probably be a good time to explain what 60 Hertz actually does, since I stepped over that initially. As many of you may know, Alaska has more than 200 remote communities that have power generation that basically is a small mini utility. They generate their own power. Maintaining the diesel generators, wind turbines, batteries, solar assets takes some skill and some training, which if you live in a remote place can be hard to come by. And so our software app is a maintenance assist for people that are looking after not only today energy assets, but also water sanitation assets. So just backing out, Tammy asked me to share lessons learned. And so that's part of what each of these next 4 slides will represent. We did decide to go the venture capital route, in part because I didn't know better. I just thought everybody went and asked investors to write $1 million check and didn't realize how hard that would be. If we could have bootstrapped it, we would have. Nonetheless, I guess that would have been 2018, I did take out a loan against my house for the first full-fledged version of the software. It was a $100,000 loan to build the software, which I'm proud to say we just paid off last month. We also therefore raised 1.3 million, and that took 12 months to raise. So just putting in perspective that venture money does not come easily. And I felt like I was simply a professional PowerPoint builder for many years, just illustrating the idea and explaining it to people. As you can see in this picture, my co-founder, Tanya James, wearing the Cuspic on the right, has just been such a steadfast partner throughout this process. We hired at this point in January of 2019 a software product manager and a CTO part-time. That's what we could afford and what we needed to help steer the product better and continue to do a lot of field work and research. So here's a picture of Tanya and 2 employees from Alaska Village Electric Cooperative out in a small plane going to visit some of our customers. Okay, we can go to the next. Well, by January of 2020, we'd moved on to our 3rd CTO, which I say more to tell a joke about myself. I am what's called a non-technical founder, which means somebody who has a good idea but doesn't really know how to execute it. And we have leaned on a lot of help in understanding what's necessary from a software development perspective, and learned, I would say, the hard and expensive way, what works and what doesn't work, and have moved through several chief technology officers in order to learn what will work for our budget and our market. I would also say if somebody is watching who has a software idea or an app-based idea, that a good tutorial on what a software product manager does would merit some investment, because it's not always about having a CTO, but having a person who acts as the bridge between what the market needs, what you hear in customer discovery phone calls, and ultimately how that's incarnated in software. It's a lot trickier than one might anticipate to bring into incarnation a solution that works for people and that works as designed. Starting last year, we also continued our human-centered design research, went to the Northwest Territories and Puerto Rico before the big lockdown. This picture below is actually in Suriname from a customer that we had last year who wanted to use a picture-driven installation guide for a solar battery system. It was a project that was great fun and ultimately helped several communities in Suriname install their assets without words. Okay, I think we can go to the next slide. By 2021, early this year, we were ready to raise more money. So I spent about 6 months in Q4 of 2020 and into the beginning of this year, raising our second 1.3 million. That was a convertible note. And this is what's giving us the wingspan for this year. The team has grown. Today, we have a distributed office of 20 employees that are between Alaska, Colorado, Detroit, Minnesota, as well as Colombia, the Ukraine, where our software developers are, and really just focus now on continuing to refine our product and learn how to sell it, which sounds funny, but for others listening on the call, it may not be a surprise at all that learning how to sell the product is, of course, really critical and really the main job, demonstrating that market traction. We have 30 customers today. I say 3 sectors because it's not only energy assets, but also water, wastewater. And thanks to a grant from the Navy, we developed a medical device maintenance product last year in response to COVID-19, because often, especially in emerging markets, the same nurse who is responsible for, let's say, a respirator or a biomedical device may be the same individual who has to step out the back door and take care of diesel gensets or solar arrays at a rural health clinic. And so it's a great application for 60 Hertz to help them assist on the maintenance of both. And even though I'm so grateful for the progress and the unity on our team and what we're able to serve the market, we still have such a long ways ahead, and there's still so much growth to go, which can bring us to the last slide to share. Oops, looks like some of that got a little version problem, but this is so we're now on version 3.5 of the app. It looks quite a bit different from what you saw initially, scaling to meet a more professional audience, but then, or well, I should say more experienced audience that are using our software, as well as still working for people that may not have had the benefit of formal education or formal training. The software is composed of checklists, and our special value proposition is that it's offline first. So in conclusion, I just want to echo what Mary said at the beginning, which is what I loved most about AIC was the opportunity to see how many people were coming up with really great ideas. I was shocked I won. There were so many other outstanding product ideas and niches to fill. And again, just the human drive to create. The human drive to create is a holy thing. And the chance to join with other people that are as lit and as sparked by that idea is beautiful in and of itself. The journey toward having an exit or becoming, the overnight unicorn, so few of us will achieve that the real benefits have to come from the joy of building. And that's certainly what it is for 60 Hertz and for my team. And thanks for the chance to share our story.
Congratulations, Piper. Great to hear where you've got to so far and the journey that's still to come as you look to grow and develop 60 Hertz and the initial support that the AIC provided to you as you were on that journey, and as you look to continue to grow, and you're supporting people both in the US and abroad in terms of positions, but also in developing technologies for you. And now it's an opportunity for myself to sort of give you and all of you listening in sort of a little bit about me and my connection to AIC. So while I'm at Alaska Center ICE, I'm also an academic researcher, and back in, I think, 2017, 18 or so, I saw an opportunity to submit a research idea I had to Arctic Innovation Competition. I thought it was a place, as I think Pipe you highlighted, a place to present, or maybe it was Mary, a place to present, a place to come in and listen to other interested innovators, but also to do a little bit of a test to see, well, does my cool development have an impact external to my own research area, and what questions and feedback might I get from the judges? So I was fortunate to get through into the final 16 for the presentation, which was in person at the time at the university. And I got the chance to present on my technology and my project. And I noticed obviously the high quality submissions for the Arctic Innovation Competition, the range of solutions that people were presenting upon, the ideas that they were bringing to the table. But it also made me think as an academic how to pitch my idea to a level that isn't too far into the weeds and in the details, but demonstrates the broader impact and demonstrates what I've developed has an impact to others beyond my own area. And it really allowed me the chance to say, okay, how do I do that effectively so those that might be judging and might be evaluating it can understand and can see the benefit of being involved, the benefit of supporting it. So I see that bringing an idea to the table at the Arctic Innovation Competition, it gives you a chance to present on that, to understand how you would pitch it to somebody to get it evaluated, how you would present it, and also gives you the ability to interact with the others on the day, see other ideas, find out collaborators, people you might want to work with in the future. So since then, I've stayed closely connected to Tammy and her team, and I've now joined the sort of judging side of it. So I'm part of, you saw when was presented earlier that there are 3 divisions. You're hearing from Joshua and Piper, who have won the overall main division. But as AIC has grown, it's included different divisions. So there's now the junior and the cub divisions. So these are different age ranges, 12 and under and 13 to 18. And I've been fortunate to be a judge for those younger divisions, where I've actually had the chance to see the quality and the types of innovations that these younger Arctic innovators bring to the table. And I'm pleased to see that they are exceptionally high quality, that they are thinking outside their traditional boxes and trying new things. They're doing prototyping, they're testing things in the field, they're seeing the need of something that benefits them, but highlighting that it's beyond just them. And these are the innovators and the entrepreneurs of 2030 and beyond. They're the Joshua and Piper main division winners in 2035. They're the business owners, hopefully, of the future, because they're at the age of 12 or 14 already thinking of innovative ideas to build as something that is a solution for living in the Arctic, developing something that can be of benefit both for them and for their peers and for those beyond their family members. So for anybody listening in that is thinking about, I might have an idea to bring to the innovation competition for the main age range. Maybe you've got family and friends that might be interested in the junior and the cub divisions, and there's opportunities there for cash prizes and for recognition for innovative projects. So I would say that keep your eyes open for the opportunities that might be not just yourselves, but your family and friends and those your kids in school systems that might be interested in putting in a team. So on that note, Tammy, I'll pass it back over to you, and we can get a chance to hear from Joshua and the developments that he's done with Parallel Flight Technologies since he was the winner of the main division. And then we can have a group discussion about sort of overall lessons learned, what's coming for 2022, and if there's any questions from the audience. So I'll pass it back to you, Tammy.
All right, thank you, Peter. We are about halfway there. Peter, you are just such a supportive part of AIC, and you have that experience that you bring as a competitor, and we've just come to rely on you as not only do you judge the juniors, but you are also part of the evaluation. There's a 4-step process for the main final, the main division competitors to make it to the semifinals, and you're part of that too. So we really appreciate it. And Piper, we already see a question for you, so just hang on there. We'll have time for questions at the end. I'm actually going to turn it back to Mary, who's going to introduce Joshua, and then we'll play a quick video that he has, and then we'll hand it over. So Mary, if you want to tell us a little bit more about Joshua, please.
Of course. So Joshua brings a passion for groundbreaking technology and years of hybrid and electric powertrain expertise to Parallel Flight Technologies. Prior to founding PFT, he led a system architecture and electrical engineering for Tesla's semi-truck program. And before moving to California, he led the state-funded research for the state of Alaska developing hybrid electric commercial fishing boats. He did win AIC's main competition in 2018 for his parallel drone idea, which was the baseline for his current company that you'll hear more about. And we are going to watch a video introducing Firefly.
All right, audience, if I have not turned on the sound, just type something in the Q&A, but I think we have it.
Massive payload, extensive flight duration is now possible. Meet Firefly, the radical new unmanned aerial system from Parallel Flight Technologies. Firefly can carry 100 pounds of payload for over 2 hours, 10 times longer than any existing solution. Firefly is the solution for industrial unmanned systems applications. Transport vital equipment to firefighters in the field, deliver critical medical supplies to remote locations, and transform industrial logistics by making operations safer and more efficient. Firefly's new patent-pending technology combines electric motor.
I had the sound working on my side.
It was good here.
You could hear?
Yeah.
Good here. Yeah, yeah.
All right, we're gonna watch it again then.
Let's do.
Let's
All
do
right.
it.
Wait, let me make sure I'm sharing. Sorry. Get over there, share. All right. There we go.
Can you just pick it up from the middle?
I can
Is
just
it-
pick it up in the middle.
Yeah, I think that'd be the best thing.
There we go.
Locations and transform industrial logistics by making operations safer and more efficient. Firefly's new patent-pending technology combines electric motors and internal combustion engines, working together in hybrid harmony. It's fully redundant with a fail-safe system developed in partnership with NASA, substantially increasing operational safety and reliability. The hybrid power module design enables zero operational downtime, and the advanced ground control system provides seamless operation beyond the line of sight. Parallel Flight's team of engineers is relentlessly innovating Firefly, from platform to operating profiles, pushing the boundaries of parallel hybrid technology. Fly longer, lift heavier, go further. Firefly.
Okay, great. Can everybody hear me okay? Awesome. So first of all, I'm super happy to be here. Thanks for the introduction, Tammy. It's great to see folks from AIC again. I've really enjoyed AIC over the years. I'm just gonna start a little timer on my side so I don't take too much time. Okay, so Parallel Flight Technologies was founded in 2018 officially. And really, I started the company while I was still at Tesla, actually, and it was in response to some of the terrible wildfires that happened in California. So if you can go to the next slide. We'll get there. Oh, okay, I forgot. I guess this is first. Yeah, so I won in 2018. And this is really the year that we were, I was still at Tesla at the time and just kind of working on Parallel Flight out of my garage with a couple of engineer friends. And I was living up in the mountains in California where I still live. And also, I guess I should call out that the area or the land that we have our offices on is traditional land of the Ohlone people. Down in California. And prior to California, I lived in Alaska. I lived in Kodiak for 12 years. So that's the Alaska connection. But anyway, in 2017, there was a really terrible wildfire. I almost lost my house. And I was wondering, well, what can we do? What kind of technology can be brought to bear to start dealing with this terrible situation? So I ended up meeting with the head of aviation for the Department of Interior, and he said basically, look, we've got drones that are doing a lot of reconnaissance and situational awareness, but what we don't have are big drones that can lift heavy payloads for a long time. So I thought, okay, that's interesting. What's the problem? Because why can't we just get some big electric drones to do that? Well, it turns out there are some heavy lift electric drones, but when they're fully loaded with their payload, they only fly for 15 minutes, which just is not a super useful duration when you're trying to do logistics and those type of longer duration missions. So, we took a first principles approach. How can we leverage existing technology to build high efficiency, long duration, heavy lift drones. And I looked at this from the perspective of what kind of hybridization systems are out there. And we came up with a new type of hybridization, which is parallel hybridization. Go to the next slide. So our technology combines gas engines and electric motors for a 10x gain in flight time for heavy payloads over electric solutions. And so as opposed to being able to fly full payload for 15 minutes, we can fly it for 2.5 hours with our technology. So this allows missions, for example, bringing critical supplies to the front lines of a fire, lighting prescribed fires, which is a really important land management tool, and also bringing critical, tactical resupply and critical medical supplies in, in remote locations. So there's a lot of applications for this. Let's go to the next slide. You can see here the progression that we followed. The first slide, or the first picture there, is a very crude prototype that we built. I think we built that toward the end of 2017. And then for 2018 and 2019, we kept developing the technology further, and we built the prototype that you see flying. Over the course of our development, we were able to get grant funding from NASA, and then NSF and USDA. We've raised almost $8 million in funding to date, and all in, when you combine with grants, we've raised over $10 million that we've put into this so far. Aviation technology is not cheap, so if you're thinking of doing an aviation startup, get ready to spend a lot of money. We've got some great partners in Alaska. We're working very closely with AKSW, which is the Alaska Center for Unmanned Aircraft Systems Integration. And AKSW, even though they're up in Fairbanks, has written what's called the COA, or the Certificate of Authorization, that gives us permission to fly our systems. So folks from AKSW visit our facilities here in California, and we're expecting them to come down again in December for another visit. And they're our liaison with the FAA. So it's a super important ongoing connection. Also, Launch Alaska has been a great partner for us, and they're also some of our investors. So it's been great working with Launch Alaska. And then we've got a lot of other partners. And as I said, we've worked with NASA, NSF, and USDA. And USDA is currently funding a project for us to do large-scale prescribed fire, which is where we basically drop these balls, they're called dragon eggs, from the drone and light a fire on the ground. Because it turns out that that's one of the most important things you can do on the land management side, is to do large-scale, low-cost, safe prescribed fire. Let's go to the next slide. And I mentioned this, AKSW and Launch Alaska, so both very, very good partners for us. We'll go to the next slide. So the company was started by myself and 2 other co-founders, and we're all technical co-founders. And so there's a few good things and a few bad things about this. The good things are that you really get a lot of good review and oversight to all the technology that gets developed, which is great. The negative part of this is that you can't build a business with just engineers. So I highly, highly recommend to all budding entrepreneurs out there that you find a business partner as one of your co-founders. You're gonna have to make a lot of decisions as you found a company. And if it's all technical people, the technical people are going to want to focus on the technology. So it's much easier if you've got a technical co-founder and a non-technical co-founder who can quickly sit down in the boardroom and make the decisions that need to get made. So that's my recommendation. Subsequently, we've been able to bring in great business people, so we've kind of made up for that. But it's a lot easier if you have that from the start. Let's go to the next slide. This is some of my advisory board. There's some other shadow advisors as well. But Mark Bathrick is the head of aviation for the Department of Interior. Chris Krajewski is a CEO of a helicopter company with deep helicopter experience. Chief Scott Watson is from CAL FIRE. Mike is a good friend of mine who's a tech entrepreneur. Dorian's from Tesla. And Al is from the industrial robotics side of things. So we've got technical and business advisors. Let's go to the next slide. And then in terms of a product roadmap, we're building our 100-pound solution right now and test flying that, and that should be on the market next year. But then the technology is quite scalable. So we're going to be building a 250 to 500-pound solution following that, and then eventually do hybrid VTOL aircraft. Go to the next slide. This is another really important slide. I think when you're starting a company, if you want that company to truly be scalable, you've got to look beyond maybe the market that you initially envisioned, especially if it was a small market. I found out something that was really kind of shocking to me, when I founded Parallel Flight, which is I'd walk into investor meetings with venture capital, and I'd say, look, I'm building a firefighting solution. And they'd be like, yeah, we don't care. Firefighting is only a $10 billion market. You might want to look for something bigger. And I'd be like, this is really odd, right? Like, all the VC, the VC websites say how, they're doing all this great stuff for the environment, and they're looking for, future technologies that are going to be good for the planet and our resources, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, almost all venture capital really cares about is how scalable is this? Can we get a huge return from this? Can we return that money to our limited partners? So what we found is, okay, we really care about firefighting, but we're building this general solution, and it really shouldn't just be limited to firefighting. And there are some really great verticals outside of that, such as healthcare logistics and energy inspections and industrial logistics that are very valid. So, we found that, even just beyond the fact that venture capital is looking for a big return, that as a company, to be scalable, that, you really do have to appreciate the other markets that are out there. So we've ended up, forming a lot of partnerships in these other verticals as well. Let's go to the next slide. One of the things that we're really excited about, and I know I'm at my time, so I'll wrap up here, is doing logistics for Indigenous communities. So, based on my experience living up in Alaska and also our close connection with Aquasi, one of the things that we're going to be working on is creating drone hubs, essentially being able to serve Arctic areas. And this isn't just Alaska, right? Like, this is anywhere above the Arctic Circle. The kind of issues that remote villages face are very similar. So we're forming some partnerships and looking forward to doing this. And one of the things that we're going to be doing along these lines is some demonstrations up in Alaska in 2022 with our technology. So we're really looking forward to some unmanned logistics demonstrations. And also, I guess I'll wrap up with, even though we're building a hybrid solution, which is gas electric, there are renewable fuel sources that we're going to be integrating in our technology pipeline, because we really are striving to be a green company as well. So those are a few things about Parallel Flight. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here, and the opportunity to be part of AIC, which was a great start for our company.
Oh, this is incredible. Thank you, Joshua, so much. So for our listeners, you have just heard both Piper and Joshua have dropped some just wonderful nuggets of information about helping and about how different ways to get help on that road to success. And it's not easy, but boy, it sure can come true. Dreams can come true. A little bit more about AIC. We have officially launched as of today. The submission deadline is Friday, March 11th. 2022. It's 138 days away for those of us counting at 11:59. You are welcome to go to the website though and start your username and create a password so that you can see the prompts that are there and the type of information that we are collecting. Also on our website is you can look at all the ideas that past winners have submitted and just get around and get a feel for what's going on. Why not? It is free to enter. So there is, if you're already working on an idea, then this is definitely something that we encourage you to do. Then we need some time to turn it around. So the actual competition deadlines, the semifinals, we are now doing a hybrid situation. The semifinals are virtual, and those are the week of April 11th through the 14th. And then that finals will be a hybrid situation. We're going to host it at the Wedgwood in Fairbanks, but certainly there will be accommodations made for those who need or want to compete virtually as well. So those are the dates if you want to lock those in on your calendar. This doesn't happen without donors and sponsors. We know it's not the university giving away $40,000. It's out there connecting with those donors who care about innovation and changing the community, changing Alaska, and changing the world. It takes many. These are some of our lead sponsors: Usabelli Coal Mine, Ken Ross, Fort Knox, shout out to Brenna, who is in the audience today, and Alaska 529, who came on board last year, talking about those youth divisions and offering scholarships, they're actually awards to youth who participate and place in AIC to get them started in their college education, and they can use those funds anywhere, not just at UAF, but of course, we encourage them to come to UAF. Here's how you can help, whether you tuned in today as an innovator, a presenter, a past competitor. There's different ways that you can help. If you are an innovator and have an idea, enter your idea. You can invite us to present. I don't know that we'll always be able to have Piper and Joshua with us, but we can present AIC at any of your organizations, to a board of directors, to any group that you would like. So we would be more than happy to do that. And of course, now we're all doing it virtually. You can help us spread the word in your communities and across social media. Tell people that you heard about this today. You never know who's going to hear it and take action and enter their idea. Post a flyer. Our flyers right here, as you see it on the slide, are ready to go. So if you are, you never know what somebody's going to see and be compelled or inspired to enter their idea. So we are happy to send you flyers electronically or paper to post around in your sphere of influence. And then follow AIC. Just go on to Facebook and follow AIC, and we are more than happy to cross promote whatever you have going on. So and become strategic partners and just spreading the word about innovation and changing the world. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Peter. I'm going to stop sharing slides, and Peter, let you take it.
Thank you. Thanks, Tammy. So we've got some time for questions from our side, questions that Joshua might have for Piper might have for Joshua, and also from the audience. So one question that was brought up from the audience today, which hasn't been answered, was, as a non-technical person, Piper, you came in with this idea. What drove you to bring that idea to the table? As you said, you weren't the sort of technical engineering person, but you still brought this idea to the competition. What drove you to think of it and sort of say, yes, it's ready for submission and presentation and potential opportunities at the competition?
You know, the idea for the 60 Hertz app came very early on a Saturday morning at a grocery store in Seward. I'd gone in for a cup of coffee, and there was a gentleman that had the lid off of, or really the control panel off of, a Ready ice maker. You know, these are ubiquitous machines that we see in every grocery store on the planet. And this gentleman was taking a picture of the control panel with his phone. And I'd really been thinking a lot about how we could help with maintenance issues that I was hearing about in remote communities, remote power systems. And so, because I knew no better, it seemed easy to create an app that would do this maintenance work. So in a way, not being technical frees us from the inhibitions of reality which can be quite helpful as we try to do things that, like Joshua is doing, lifting things that shouldn't go that far and that long, and somehow it magically works. And so and I should also mention, you can't hear any startup story without somebody saying the word pivot. And that was true for 60 Hertz too, because I started the company. I had already started it by the time I'd seen this gentleman at 6 a.m. on a Saturday morning with his Ready Ice Maker app. I had started the company to finance remote renewable energy systems. And because I was new to Alaska, I had missed all those decades of headlines about asset failure. And I thought the biggest problem was just helping pay for them. But naturally, the bigger problem was maintenance. And so that's what brought us further toward the goal.
Oh, sorry, it was the seeing something where you thought you can make a difference, that it wasn't something that you were dealing with every day, but you saw somebody and you're thinking, maybe that idea that's been ruminating at the back of my brain for the last X number of months or years was like, I wonder if, I see somebody that I haven't interviewed them, but you've seen that they've got a pain and you have a solution that you think will make it easier for them to provide their day-to-day operations. So that's one example. And Joshua, you highlighted on yours was like, you wanted to make a benefit for those firefighters to be able to get critical supplies into these environments. So you saw a pain, and for those that are business-based, I'm sounding like I'm developing a business model canvas as I'm describing this, but you saw the pain, you saw a potential gain, you had your solution, and then you went out and thought, let's go and see if it fits the industry, fits the market, fits the opportunity. And then, as you said, Piper, you pivoted, you ideated, you looked at, you listened, and you moved forward. So, but it was an answer to Becky's question. It was, you saw a potential need from somebody and you thought, let's move forward with this. Cool. Joshua, I saw you're muted. Do you have something to add, additionally to add?
I think I also am fairly free from the inhibitions of reality, which is why, it's really good, even though I'm a technical founder, right? Like having co-founders, and who are technical has been useful in the sense that, you get engineers love to poke holes in other people's ideas, right? And that's a great way to get to reality, right? Like because you can't cheat the laws of physics. You can only work with the laws of physics. So, it's really, really important to have your concepts grounded in that reality, and then also in the reality of the market, right? Like one of the things we found was that selling to the fire industry is really, really hard. There's just a small group of kind of niche suppliers that sell to fire. Also, the fire industry is a very slow moving industry. It's basically, what do they say? 100 years of stagnation. I don't know. There's something like that, but it's a very slow moving industry, and they're not set up for R&D. They're not set up for, really integrating new technologies. So, the problem that we're facing right now is that we have an exponential problem, but you've got a linear industry, right? So like fire is becoming an exponential problem. In fact, we almost lost our house again last year. The burn scar is literally half a mile from my house. And anyway, so the fire industry is really going through kind of its own internal revolution where they're recognizing like, okay, we really have to adopt unmanned systems. So we're coming in at the right time, but it's not an easy industry to sell to at all. So, you can have the best product in the world, but if you don't know how to sell it, or your customers are really hard to sell to, you don't have a market, you don't have a business. So you really have to have all those different pieces in place to have everything click.
Joshua, can I pick up on a point that you made early on about, the beauty of having engineers poke at each other's ideas is that then it does drive to what will work and what will function. And something Peter said really resonated, which is the value of AIC is to present and get judges' feedback on the idea. And that in and of itself, no matter how weak the knees might feel at sharing an idea with others, that's the whole point, because if I ever feel sad in entrepreneurship circles or innovation events, it's when you hear an idea that clearly has only been shared with the individual's family, or clearly has only, you know, if you ask your mom what she thinks about it, it will always be positive. And God bless that beautiful relationship of having some, you know, people that we love us that will always say it's awesome. But it just that's really not the way to go forward, as hard as it is. And your idea will change and it'll get battered, and it's so hard to have something that you've loved and nourished and thought was perfect already get kicked in the face. But that's actually the goal. And developing that thicker skin and having a little bit of an arm's length on it. You can still go back and have, you know, your family tell you it's great, but I think that alone for AIC is worth it, because the idea will improve.
Yeah, I think the kind of phrase that or words of wisdom that I've really kind of taken to heart on entrepreneurship come from Elon Musk, who said that being an entrepreneur is like eating glass while staring into the abyss. And, you know, that's obviously like calling out the really hard times of the process. But you've got to realize, like, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, it's going to be really, really hard. And you know, a lot of times is people aren't going to believe in what you're doing. Investors aren't going to believe you. You know, there's times when your teammates won't believe you, and there's times, and this is the worst one, when you don't even believe it yourself, right? And it's like, it's super, super hard to keep moving forward. And you just have to recognize that, like, yeah, it's going to be super hard because you're trying to be a visionary and you're trying to bring something new to the world, and it's not an easy process. But the benefit is that when stuff actually stuff starts to work, it's a great moment, right? And so you just really need to keep going and keep pushing, and you will get to that success.
Very wise words, Joshua. And on that note,
oh, you're muted.
thank you. Sorry, technical problems with the technical person. But yes, I will. On those wise words is what I was trying to say, if people could read. And then there's one more question in the chat. If a person has an idea but not the technical knowledge, how does that person find the technical talent? So that comes down to using the networks and communities. And that was a question I had that I was going to ask Joshua and Piper, but we're getting short on time, but was sort of, how does the statewide entrepreneurial ecosystem, whatever technical term you want to use to describe this community of entrepreneurs, how do we as a community help you, but how does the community help those initial idea generators, those initial people that have got like an idea and they think, well, has it been done before? Or where do I go and find out more information? Who do I ask? Where do I go? And I rather than asking the question, I guess I'll describe a response to Mike is reach out. Is just there are some larger groups. There's something called Alaska Startups Group on social media if you've got that, or I'd be happy to talk to you through the Center ICE. And I'm sure if somebody was approaching Launch Alaska, you probably could chat to somebody, or the UAA Center for Economic Development. There's different groups within the state that have sort of a wider remit that would be willing to just have a discussion with you to make connections. Is the entrepreneurial ecosystem, especially in Alaska, is about giving back. So it's about making connections. It might be the person you talk to is interested in partnering with you and you become a collaborator and you submit to AIC in February of 2022. Or it might be they know somebody who knows somebody. The degrees of freedom in connections in Alaska is probably 1 or 1.5. If the person you're talking to doesn't know the person, they probably know the person that does. So do reach out. It's all about connections. It's about building the state and moving us forward as a state. So please do reach out, and somebody could at least connect with you and have a chat. And if otherwise, there may be programs that actually can support you to help you do what you're asking about making connections. So small business development corporation and centers across the state. There's economic development groups. There's different groups that, depending on your question, might be able to find the partnership or find the collaborator that can help you move forwards. So please do reach out. And as Piper points out, there's also resources, online resources about learning and hearing about how to make those connections, how to ask those questions. Because sometimes if you don't ask, you're still where you were before you asked. So sometimes it does take a little bit of extrovertedness in ourselves to ask those questions, but you can only potentially gain from asking those questions. So sorry, Piper, did you have something to add to that?
Well, just in 2 seconds, I think it is so important to find resources. I used Upwork to a great extent, posted jobs and short-term contracts on Upwork, even nationally and internationally, and kept asking people questions until, would quickly get off a call if they weren't offering anything I didn't already know. And if it seemed like I was hearing a lot of content, it was a heat map, a content-rich call, then continue asking that person who their network was in order to figure out as fast as possible answers to some of these important questions. So.
Perfect, great. So as we wrap up today, in the final minute, I want to thank Joshua, Piper for their time and telling us their story and their journey since they were winners of AIC. Thank you, Tammy and Mary, as a co-host for the event and giving you the opportunity to talk about Arctic Innovation Competition and what's coming for 2022. And just to finish off, as we wrap up the hour, so we are in Alaska Startup Week. There is about 50 events, as I said earlier, across the state. If you go to the website there in the bottom right, you'll see a list of all of the events. The coloring system on the left-hand side just gives you an idea that most of them are online. The purple ones are virtual web-based. You can see the 3 to 4 o'clock event from today, which you're attending. Some of them are in person. You can see some in Anchorage and Fairbanks, and others are more general events that are occurring both in a hybrid format. So please do go online, have a look. There may be another event that you're interested in attending, and you may find those partners, those collaborators for future opportunities. So to wrap up and to finish today, I want to thank Alaska Startup Week for helping us put all this together and get the word out. As I said, go to the website, find out more information. There should be a feedback form going into the chat. All being well, we're able to get that in. There we go. So if you've got any feedback on today's event, and this is for the statewide committee that puts together the events across the year, we'll be putting this onto the Center ICE's YouTube channel. So you can share this with colleagues and friends who might be interested in AIC or learning and rewatching Joshua and Piper's great presentations on what they've done. And of course, we'll be sharing that with all of our panelists if they're wanting a copy of that. But on other notes, I just want to thank you all for your time today. Wish you all a good rest of the week and a good rest of your Monday.